Okay, it's time now for business with Brian Quinn. Hello, Brian.
Hey, James.
You're starting in the US, where a very closely divided Congress has just delivered the Biden administration a critical victory in its push for a massive economic stimulus plan. Tell us a little bit more about what's going on.
A highly awaited stimulus plan. Everybody's wondering if it's going to get through. It looks increasingly likely that it will. It was a marathon 15-hour session wrapping up just before dawn as senators narrowly approved a budget blueprint using Vice President Kamala Harris's tiebreaker vote to clear the 51-vote majority. The Democratic-controlled House of Representatives passed the measure quickly, just under 2 hours ago. Well, that passage clears the way for Democrats to fast-track Biden's $1.9 trillion COVID relief plan, as a raft of measures currently are set to expire in March. Well, Ellen Skainford has the details.
On this vote, the yeas are 50, the nays are 50. The Senate being equally divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative, and the concurrent resolution as amended is adopted.
Casting her first tiebreaker vote, Vice President Kamala Harris pushed the budget resolution through the Senate, taking the Democrats a step closer to approving Joe Biden's $1.9 trillion COVID relief package. An all-night session, known as a vote-a-rama, allowed for non-binding amendments to the resolution. In a blow to Bernie Sanders and the left of the party, the Senate agreed to a Republican proposal to block a planned $15 an hour federal minimum wage. Another Republican amendment that passed came from Senators Marco Rubio and Rick Scott, blocking tax increases on small businesses during the pandemic, while a bipartisan amendment to prevent upper-income taxpayers receiving COVID relief checks was also approved. The U.S. economy has been battered by the pandemic. Figures released by the Labor Department show the unemployment rate fell to 6.3%, down from 6.7% in January. But analysts say this reduction is due to Americans dropping out of the workforce. The resolution paves the way for the next step in the budget reconciliation process, a procedure that allows the party in control of Congress to pass legislation with a simple 51-vote majority, without worrying about a filibuster.
Well, President Joe Biden taking the most recent U.S. jobs report as evidence that Washington needs to get that $1.9 trillion stimulus package passed as quickly as possible. Friday's Labor Department figures showing extremely meager job growth in January, that after a December in which payrolls actually fell by 227,000. Well, despite a few months of positive growth, there remain nearly 10 million more jobless Americans than there were before the pandemic hit. Biden's plan would provide $1,400 checks to most individuals and an additional $400 per month in federal unemployment aid, that on top of state benefits, along with $160 billion to boost vaccination efforts in the U.S. The president says he's prepared to push the package through Congress without help from Republicans if necessary.
Are we going to say to millions of Americans who are out of work, many of whom have been out of work for 6 months or longer, who've been scarred by this economic and public health crisis, don't worry, hang on, things are going to get better. We're going to go smaller, so it's just going to take us a lot longer, like until 2025. That's the Republican answer right now. I can't.
Time to check in on the markets now. European shares closed mixed as investors cast a wary eye on that troubling U.S. jobs report Friday. Corporate earnings season dominating the market moves, with France's CAC 40 gaining around 0.9% as Sanofi shares rose on a positive earnings report. BNP Paribas shares up some 2.6% today as annual profits beat expectations despite taking a hit from the pandemic. Wall Street, meanwhile, with one of its best weeks since November, investors looking to that stimulus bill and vaccination plans to turn the U.S. economy around. Also looking at news that the White House is planning to review the previous administration's European trade tariff policy. Dow ending the day up around 0.33%, the S&P up around 0.4%, with a new record, and the NASDAQ up around 0.6% at the close in New York. And finally, for business, a master class in targeted marketing. As COVID-19 spread across the U.S., chocolate maker Hershey's noticed that areas with higher infection rates were also seeing better sales for the ingredients required to make s'mores. Demand for the sweet, gooey treat made from melting chocolate and marshmallows in a graham cracker sandwich jumped as much as 50% in hard-hit areas. When Hershey spotted the trend, it began targeting its advertising based on infection rates. The result? Fourth quarter sales rose by nearly 6% over the previous year, with profits up over 40%. Well, why s'mores? The company says staying home likely encouraged more baking, with the public craving comfort in rich, sweet foods. James, it's also my theory that the increase of working from home allows you to expand your waistline without fearing undue judgment from your colleagues.
This is true. You don't see it really on
the quarantine 15, as it were.
More s'mores for us all.
Why not?
Bring them into work,
We'll just
please.
let ourselves go. Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Brian. Quick break now for the weather, and we'll be back with more news right after that.